Hello, everyone, and welcome to this weekly live session. Today, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence and how to get funding if you are an AI-powered business. I am Avocat Olivia Marcu-Iordanescu, and for those of you who don't know me yet, I partner with technology companies and their founders to streamline their legal processes so they get funding fast and efficient. Thank you for joining me today. And, let me know in the comments, where are you joining in from, who you are, what's your technology company, about what is your product or service. I'm excited to find out where you're at in your business journey at the moment. And like I said, today we are going to look at how to get funding fast and efficient if you are an AI-powered business. And today in this session, I'm going to look at three main points. First of all is what is artificial intelligence from a legal perspective. What are the underlying assets? What makes up artificial intelligence? And second, I'm going to share about how do you make sure you have secured these assets in your company and that you are ready for funding. How do you prepare your AI for funding? And last but not least, I'm going to look at what can go wrong with the artificial intelligence from a legal perspective. Great. So let me start from the top. I have been asking myself this question, right? And having worked with multiple founders who have embarked on the artificial intelligence journey to either develop an application of artificial intelligence or somehow incorporate it in its day-to-day operations to streamline, to automate, wherever the goal is. And from a legal perspective, I have been looking at a few definitions. What is the perspective in the US legal system? What is the perspective at this moment in the European Union? And the conclusion I came to is, from a legal standpoint, is that artificial intelligence is a combination of tangible and intangible assets. And this is a very important element, understanding what artificial intelligence is from a legal standpoint, because this will come up in your legal due diligence. And as you know already from my previous live sessions, the legal due diligence is the most important step of your relationship with your investors. So whatever comes up in that process is going to impact how the investment process goes, how much money you get, and what are the terms of that funding. And even if you're not looking into funding right now, maybe you're looking into strategies on how to grow and scale your business. You still need to get a fair understanding of what does it take from a legal perspective to protect your assets, what to be on the lookout for. And I'm just checking to make sure that everything is streaming live and working, and that is the case. So even if you're not looking at funding right now and you're just looking to grow and scale your business, maybe go into new markets or improve the AI, like create more applications for it and so on and so forth, it's really important that you have a clear understanding and a foundation, a legal foundation for these assets, so you can exploit them powerfully. And that's what I'm here for today. Good. So like I said, when you go into that investor room, when you go into the beauty contest, as I called it previously, with your investors, you have to come in prepared. When you sit at that table with the investors and their team and your investment manager, and you are talking deal terms, you have to go there 100% certain, self-assured that you have everything in place in terms of the legal protection of your assets, the underlying assets of the artificial intelligence. There are no skeletons in your closet, and we're going to see how those skeletons could look like and what to keep an eye on. Okay, good. So, like I said, artificial intelligence is a combination of tangible and intangible assets, mostly intangible. And what I mean by that is that you can have copyright, you can have sui generis database rights, you can have patent and trade secrets, you can have trademarks, designs, but you can also have hardware and not just hardware, because that's not typical, right? Nobody invests anymore in hardware that much, but you can have license rights or usage rights which relate to cloud service or software as a service that you are incorporating into your artificial intelligence code, source code, data that you are pulling from other systems or providers. So let's have a look at that, right? How do you make sure, and this is the second point of today's session, how do you make sure you have secured all these assets and are ready for funding if that's what you're looking for? How do you prepare your artificial intelligence for funding? Well, first of all, you register your intellectual property rights, those that you can register, of course, those bits and pieces of the artificial intelligence that can be registered. And you do that as soon as possible. Some examples are you can register the name of the software or product or service that you are going to offer, the logo, as a trademark. That's really simple. It's not a time-consuming procedure, and I always advise my clients to do it as soon as possible. The sooner, the better, right? Another example is you can register the icon of the software or the app in the App Store as it will appear in the App Store for users to download as a design, for instance. Third, you can register a patent to protect the technical invention behind your artificial intelligence. And you can use a combination of all these. So any element of the artificial intelligence that you can protect through registration, you want to have it registered. Another way to protect the intellectual property in the artificial intelligence is to sign intellectual property assignment agreements with your developers, your designers, your creators, whoever is working on the bits and pieces of your artificial intelligence, from design, the look and feel of the product or service that you are creating, the application, whether it is, you're working with a branding agency, to the actual software engineers or developers working on the user experience, front end, back end. You need to make sure that you have such IP assignment agreements in place, signed contracts, and you have the proper clauses and wording in those agreements, in those services agreements with your providers, that are specific to the IP assignment. The other thing that you want to do, and is really, really important, is to sign confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements with your business partners, or have such specific and separate clauses in the agreements with them. Including intellectual property rights sections, like I mentioned, that distinguish what is confidential information, your trade secrets, your business secrets, It may be protecting methods and ideas that you were not able to register as an intellectual property right. And so the confidentiality and no disclosure agreement is going to cover and protect you on those items. And this is a very basic step. You want to start here and have such clauses in all your contracts, including with your employees and staff or team working remotely with you. And we're going to talk in another session on what are some methods that you can also secure those assets, those intellectual property rights and confidential information, and what are some measures that you can take internally as an organization to make sure there are no infringements or breaches and you are protected. The fourth method in which you protect your artificial intelligence is to check your usage rights, license terms of any technology contracts that you as a company have concluded, any technology that you are using in the development of the artificial intelligence. If you are using data, pulling data from other systems, you need to make sure that in the contracts that you have signed with those suppliers, you have clearly defined rights to use what is the way in which you can use them. And for instance, if you are using an open source code or just a code from another source, and you are incorporating that into your artificial intelligence, you need to check the terms of use and make sure you are clear on what you are allowed and not allowed to do with those bits and pieces. Great. Another way, very useful and easily available, is to have a staff handbook, a policy in place in your organization that protects the intellectual property of your company. In this staff handbook, you will set the boundaries around what your employees can or cannot do with the devices and software and trade secrets, like I said before, and the intellectual property. Also describe like what are some workflows and procedures that they need to follow in order to secure these assets that belong to the company. So you can implement security policies around what they can or cannot do, download, and so on and so forth. Then we have third-party users. What do I mean by that? So you look at protecting your artificial intelligence internally within the company, but you also look at it externally. Once you've launched your product or service and you are offering it to users, to customers, to clients, how do you protect your artificial intelligence in that relationship, right? And the way to ensure third-party users do not infringe your intellectual property rights, especially where you will be, even more so when you will be launching a beta version, is to make sure you have terms of use that are available to the public in a concise and understandable manner, where you describe what people are and are not allowed to do with your intellectual property rights. And last but not least, prepare your data room. Organize all your legal documentation in one place, structure the information, and have everything prepared for the due diligence ahead of time. And all of the points that I just went through, like the way in which you can protect the assets underlying the artificial intelligence, are items that your investors counsel is going to look at in the due diligence process, because they will want to make sure that you own the rights and that there is no potential liability or dispute risk in this respect. So take it as a checklist. If you want, I can also drop it in the comments for you. and make sure you implement that starting today. Now, like I said, all of this is what is required when you are trying to raise capital to get funding in your technology company. And not only that, it gives you a good structure going forward on which you can grow your business or scale in other ways. Good. The other advantage is just how easy and simple it becomes for your team, your organization, when they are clear about what they are allowed and not allowed to do with the intellectual property, the information that exists with the know-how that you have built as a team in the company. When they have a staff manual, when there are clear rules and policies within the organization, and they understand the risks because they are participating not just in the creation, in the build up of the business, they're also participating in any fallout that might come from that, right? So, which brings me to the final topic of today, the third item that we said we would touch upon, and that is what can go wrong with the artificial intelligence from a legal point of view. Now, first of all of the above. So if you take the checklist that I just mentioned, you just take the points one by one and you just flip that and you don't implement any of those items, and you choose not to take those actions, you risk not owning them, yeah, and having worked so hard and paid so much for its development only to find out that someone else is owning it. Anyone can do anything with it, running into liability lawsuits and getting drowned in legal costs and litigation, or just not being able to raise capital or to grow or scale your business because there is nothing there for you to exploit. So, but I think from a business and commercial point of view, and from my experience working in technology-driven companies, I think it's not so much about what could go wrong, but rather what is the biggest challenge, yeah, and pain point for you as an artificial intelligence powered company. I think that is keeping control of the costs. Development costs, which are extremely difficult to estimate from the start and all the way through the development process, which includes affording that team, that talent, and those resources you need to develop the artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence requires a lot of iterations. And at the end of the day, investors and yourself are going to want to know and understand, when is it going to perform? When are you going to see some results? And how to evaluate the whole thing. So legal does not come as a solution to that. I'll be straight with you from the start. It is a challenge in itself. I guess you can say when you start off on this journey, it is the business risk that you are taking on, keeping track of and control over the costs, to understanding how you evaluate what is the ground, the basis that can be used. But legal does provide a tool for that. So what do I mean by that? If you fulfill the checklist, the points that I just mentioned today, you will have a very powerful ground and toolkit to measure those costs, to be able to keep track and control over the costs, to be able to evaluate your underlying assets at some point in time when that is required. It may be in the course of an investment or a deal that you are trying to make, maybe selling a whole or a part of the business, or maybe you will want to merge, or maybe you will want to acquire a solution that is incorporated in the artificial intelligence. At that point, it becomes relevant for you to know and understand how much has gone into the development of the artificial intelligence, and legal provides you the toolkit to do that. So I can tell you from the start that your CFO, your accountants, your investors, your grants and funds providers, if you are going for that and applying for that, your independent valuators whom you'll need down the line, in getting funding or getting an independent third-party valuation on your artificial intelligence, are all going to desire and request from you to see the legal documentation behind it from the very inception of the artificial intelligence to date. And so you owe it to yourself to get started now, today, and streamline your legal processes so you have a reliable and scalable business. Thank you for joining me today, and to your leadership.